The most absurd Family Guy episodes ever. Family Guy has never been afraid to get weird, but some episodes take absurdity to a whole new level. From bizarre plot twists to completely unhinged adventures, these are the moments that made us pause and say, wait, what just happened? Get ready to dive into the wildest, most ridiculous episodes this show has ever unleashed. Let's start with one of the most absurd things Peter Griffin has ever done, and yes, that's saying a lot. It's the time he joined the Tea Party. But it's not only the idea that's weird, it's absurd how this episode even started, and even Peter admits it.
Hey, you ever accidentally masturbate to young pictures of your mom?
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
Who kicks off a storyline like that? Only Family Guy. In this episode, Peter goes full drama and discovers a newfound hate for the government. He storms off and ends up joining the Tea Party movement, which, for Peter, is basically just a bunch of regular people yelling about freedom.
Finally, I'm part of a movement of regular people trying to take back our government.
According to him, it was at least better than sitting at a mall and seeing Japanese girls giggling and going crazy.
Finally got something better to do with my Saturdays than sit at the mall and watch Japanese girls laugh at normal conversation.
We can't even argue with him there, but still, this is classic unhinged Peter logic.
So there's a Starbucks near my house?
You people are a circus.
Brian, of course, tries to intervene. He straight away tells Peter that he was being used, and he was too clueless to know it.
All I'm saying is you're being used, and you're too clueless to know it.
When he tries to knock some sense into Peter by telling him that only the big businesses are funding it for their private purposes, Peter gets defensive.
It's actually funded by big business types who are using you to get the government out of their way so they can roll over everyone.
The only thing that he got to say in his defense was just this.
Well, you just think you're so superior, don't you? Like that first creature to walk on dry land.
This was perhaps the most useful part of his conversation. But then, Peter goes to the Tea Party grand opening, and there are multiple stalls with weird people. And then there are those people who are really, really against socialism and are protesting at that place. And according to Peter, all that weirdness had one meaning. The Tea Party is all about self-reliance.
Boy, they're really against socialism.
That's right, the Tea Party is all about self-reliance.
There was even a self-love portal to support the idea. It's crazy to what extent things can go in this universe, and still, everyone acts as if it's normal.
Look, there's even a tunnel of self-love.
The guy who was there to give the speech was so dramatic and foul that Peter couldn't believe his ears. Yes, that was because Peter loved that tone so much that he was in a state of pure shock.
Is anyone else out there sick of government crap?
Oh my God, it's like he's saying everything I'm listening to.
Of course, Peter's ears perk up the minute someone says, stupid government rules. But it only gets better from there. The guy starts listing off all these weird rules the government apparently forces on people, and the crowd boos like they're at a wrestling match.
The government wants to tell you what foods to eat. And what church you can go to.
And then, that you can't own a chimpanzee because you're not responsible enough. Peter just loses it and yells, I would feed it! It's so dumb and so Peter.
I would feed it!
Then the guy really goes off the rails. The government wants to tell you how many kids you can have. Now Peter's practically in tears. He's completely sold. And just when you think it can't get more ridiculous, the guy says, the government says you can't throw your old TVs in the river. And a woman says, standing still, then how am I supposed to find a TV? They're all a bunch of, well, you can decide.
You can't throw your old TVs into the river.
Then how am I supposed to find TV?
But the unhinged part is when the guy says, you probably don't even want to join the Tea Party because all you get are these stupid, awesome keychains. And a man gasps, it's the keychain from the dream.
Oh my God, it's the keychain from the dream.
So, yeah, Peter joins instantly because all he wants is drama, and the Tea Party can give him that. But is it the weirdest, most stupid and absurdest of his moments? Not yet, buddy. You haven't seen the time Peter sent the wrong pic for Christmas.
I sent the wrong picture to Walgreens.
However, the more unsettling part is the fact that they sent Meg away on purpose by lying to her. That's because they could take the picture without her and have a perfect family moment, and the plan drastically failed.
She's gone. Quick, let's take the picture for the Christmas card.
But as always with the Griffins, the plan fails in the most ridiculous way possible. The photo ends up being a disaster. Meg finds out, and everyone just kind of shrugs and moves on. Then, in another episode, things get weird. Like, really weird. Brian and Stewie get locked inside a bank vault with no food, no water, and no way out.
I feel you should know that.
What was that?
As time passes, they start to get desperate. Stewie's still wearing a dirty diaper, and the smell becomes unbearable.
I'm uncomfortable. You have to change me.
Not changing you. We don't even have any diapers.
I can't be in a soiled diaper until tomorrow, Brian. We both know that. I'll get a rash, which could lead to an infection if left like this.
At one point, Stewie tells Brian that the only way things will be okay is if Brian eats his poop.
So what I would need you to do is eat what's in my diaper, lick the diaper clean, and then put the diaper back on me.
Brian refuses at first, thinking Stewie is joking, but then Stewie pulls out a gun, trying to scare him into doing it.
There is no way any of that is happening. Stewie, come on.
They even realise Brian has a phone, but Stewie wastes the one call to return a sweater instead of asking for help.
Hi, Matthew. I think you're the salesman who helped me pick out a Tom Brown sweater 2 weeks ago.
Eventually, Stewie starts to cry, and Brian feels bad, so he agrees to help.
All right, I'll do it.
He removes Stewie's overalls and changes the diaper, then actually eats the poop to stop Stewie from suffering. Stewie even offers him some dessert, which turns out to be vomit, and weirdly, Brian accepts that too.
Got some dessert for you.
After it's over, they both calm down and things feel strangely normal again.
I think I will.
It's one of the strangest and most uncomfortable moments in the show, but it also shows how far their bond goes, even if it's in the grossest and most absurd way possible. But then there's this. Peter's never-ending fights with the giant chicken are more absurd than the battles in the movies. It always begins the exact same way. Peter is simply living his everyday life, flipping through a newspaper, sipping coffee, maybe enjoying a sunset. And then, suddenly, he locks eyes with a giant anthropomorphic chicken. No context, no explanation, just full-on eye contact and instant violence. Like this, the chicken personally insulted Peter's ancestors.
You son of a...
What follows is pure chaos. Entire city blocks are leveled, innocent bystanders are flung like ragdolls, and laws of physics are casually obliterated. They beat the crap out of each other across multiple cities, destroy buildings, steal cars, crash planes, and at one point, they even fall off a towering building. There's zero consistency, and that's the point. Honestly, at this point, we wouldn't even be surprised if their next fight takes place on Mars, riding robotic dinosaurs while quoting Shakespeare. The fight scenes go on for so long that it stops being funny and gets absolutely absurd. Every time you think it's over, one of them coughs or moves and it all starts over again.
Chicken gave me a bad Cooper.
It's the dumbest, most unnecessary gag in the show, and that's exactly why it works. But what about the time when Brian got addicted to his phone? The episode opens with Brian discovering a flight simulator on his tablet and becoming totally obsessed. And when Brian gets into something, he takes it way too far.
Sit down, guys. I'm trying to land a 757 in Dubai with a crosswind and a broken landing gear.
He genuinely believes that after spending a few hours on the app, he now has the skills of a real pilot. It's delusional in the most Brian way possible.
Not stupid, and I'm fairly amazing at it. Earlier, I landed in Texas. Not going to tell you the city because it affects the joke, but when I landed...
Perhaps more strange was the way Peter was avoiding looking at the screen because his screen time was officially over for the day.
Check it out. Oh, I can't even look at screens over shoulders, Lois said.
Peter, the actor.
I'm not looking!
It wasn't so dramatic the first time Peter told Meg about it, but you know it's Peter we're talking about, so you should expect it. So, continuing, Quagmire, who's an actual pilot, is immediately annoyed with Brian's behaviour. He's worked for years and has real flight experience, and suddenly, Brian is acting like their colleagues. It's the kind of overconfidence that makes reality feel a little thin. Things escalate when Brian stows away on one of Quagmire's flights, and as luck or Family Guy logic would have it, both Quagmire and his co-pilot eat some bad shrimp and go down with food poisoning mid-flight. Both of them kneel and wiggle, and one can see clearly that they're in no state to take control of the plane. Suddenly...
Oh! Ah! It's coming! Don't worry, Quagmire. I can take over.
Are you crazy? You could never in a million...
It's just Brian in the cockpit with a bunch of passengers depending on him. Somehow, no one really knows how Brian manages to land the plane.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for landing.
While Quagmire sits in the washroom sink doing his thing and screeching for Brian not to take control, everything goes smoothly.
Damn it, get out of the way! I'm gonna have to take a boy band!
What does that mean?
In sync!
It's this ridiculous moment where you're both impressed and thinking, there's no way this should have worked. what's more bizarre is how the landed plane let some special people go early due to some appointments. Wasn't it too cool of Brian to land in style? And oddly embarrassing for Quagmire? When they land, Brian and Quagmire are hailed as heroes. The news channels go wild with cameras, interviews, and headlines. Everyone calls Brian the dog who saved a plane.
But just so we get the on-screen labels correct, you're the one who landed the plane, and you're the one who pooped in the sink.
It's only Quagmire who gets nervous about the interview while Brian is having fun in the spotlight. Quagmire quietly fumes in the background, but Brian is soaking up the attention, acting like he's Sully Sullenberger.
Well, all pilots are highly trained.
There's no training for a moment like this. You're just relying on pure gut instinct.
You can feel the tension building, and that feeling that something not so cool is about to happen.
To the point where it's almost like muscle memory.
You can also get the app for free, but you have to sit through a lot of ads for the army.
The weirdest part is watching Quagmire try to hold in his frustration while Brian becomes more and more unbearable. Brian starts dressing like a pilot, wearing sunglasses, a scarf, and walking around town like he's some kind of celebrity. If not, he just does his stupid actions, which are a trademark of his. Most of all, even Quagmire has to do his part to keep up with his wild antics.
Diarrhea, diarrhea, diarrhea. I can't do the noises, but you get it.
Eventually, Quagmire can't take it anymore. He's completely humiliated that a dog is getting more recognition than he is for doing literally nothing.
You only end up using like 3 of those buttons. I thought those guys were like geniuses.
So, he gets furious and fumes all the time. It's both sad and strange because he's being so dramatic, but you kind of get it. It's like someone learning to paint by numbers and then being compared to Picasso.
Look, I know you're still mad, but this is our last event, so let's make the best of it.
But unexpected luck saves the day when Quagmire finally gets the chance to reverse roles with a boat drive the same way Brian did. The man fell down and fainted, forcing Quagmire to jump into action and save everyone on board.
Oh my god! Is he okay?
I mean, isn't it all kind of the same thing?
Actually, it had been Brian's doing who, feeling guilty for Quagmire, decided to help him and fumble with the driver's insulin pump.
I may have unplugged his insulin pump, but I'm guessing somebody knows how to drive this thing.
The whole thing ends up being a disaster, with people falling into the water and the boat smashing into things. But in the chaos, Quagmire becomes the hero again. It's ridiculous, but it works.
You really Quagmired this whole thing, Brian. Oh god, now I'm doing it.
But let's just talk about the way Quagmire drives, because wow. From the second he starts driving, it's a disaster. He's swinging the boat around like he's trying to parallel park a couch in a hurricane. The thing's bumping into piers and scraping against the side of a ferry.
Okay, I think if I can just point us a bit more that way. Oh crap, it's the Block Island Ferry!
Every time you think it can't get worse, he yells, "Hang on!" and hits something else. It's not even chaotic anymore, it's just expected. Just when you think that everything is getting out of hand and even Quagmire screams at the sensitivity of the situation, things become unexpected. The boat finally stopped and everyone, though hurt, was safe. However, Brian made up for his mistake by expressing his true feelings and making up for the blunder he made.
And I guess I just wanted to give you your Sully Sullenberger moment. I clearly screwed that up, but the truth is, you're a hero every day.
Then, finally, Quagmire gets a new Navy uniform and his respect back.
Glenn, please accept these keys to the city. A lot about being mayor is having enormous junk drawer things.
Then comes the twist that ties it all together. The airline reviews the flight data and realizes that the autopilot was on the entire time.
According to the newly recovered data, the airplane's autopilot system actually landed the plane, and not Brian.
Ah!
Brian didn't land the plane. The system did. All of his praise was based on a total fluke. The look on his face when he finds out is priceless. Meanwhile, the B-plot is somehow even more absurd. Lois finds her old easy-bake oven in the attic, and Stewie, ever the curious little megalomaniac, becomes obsessed with it. Although at first he was too busy to notice it, or maybe he faked it.
Mommy's old easy-bake oven from when she was a girl.
If it's not big enough for you to stick your head in, I have no interest.
However, once his mom left and he could finally express his real emotions, he jumped around and rubbed his hands. He saw a lot of new and shiny prospects calling out to him.
Oh my god, Rupert, I've always wanted an easy bake oven. Oh, I haven't been this excited since we watched the series finale of Caillou.
It's weird that even in his imagination, for some reason, he's still bald. He literally sees himself running a Connery empire with no hair. That's just oddly specific. So, then he starts baking, and Chris discovers that Stewie's actually good at it, like, really good. And instead of just enjoying that for a minute like normal people, they decide to open a boutique pizza spot.
Open up a really successful boutique pizza place.
Are you serious? I'm in, but mostly to get a Michelin star.
They call it Mount Vesuvius, which is such a dumb name that sounds like it was written during a fever dream. It's unsettling seeing Stewie in an apron acting like a 5-star chef. Both the boys are hustling, making artisanal pizzas with toppings like gold flakes and truffle oil, and people are actually lining up to try them. But of course, because it's Family Guy, everything falls apart. Their success is dependent on a vintage light bulb in the oven, and when it burns out, they can't find a replacement. Like, really? They go on this wild mission to locate one, treating it like they're searching for a holy relic. And let me tell you, the way they got that was not entirely holistic. Both of them went to an old man's house who would probably have a bulb from the 1960s. Chris diverts his attention by showing him a mole on his leg, which is totally off the point, while Stewie tries to steal the bulb. While Stewie, due to his short height, runs around trying to get his hands on the bulb, Chris makes the man faint by doing nothing. Eventually, they find the bulb, but it's too late.
Merciful heavens!
Ah, got it!
The health department shuts them down, not because of the bulb, but because the shop isn't wheelchair accessible.
Do you have a handicap access ramp?
No.
You people are animals! I'm shutting this place down!
And also because they've never washed their hands.
Did either of you wash your hands before making this pizza?
No.
Have either of you ever washed your hands?
No.
It's such a classic example of how things on Family Guy always end up going sideways. They work so hard to keep the oven running, only to be shut down.
Well, Chris, we had a good run.
We sure did.
Back in the main story, after all the chaos, things kind of return to normal. Brian is back to being his pretentious self, but slightly humbled. Quagmire's a pilot again, and Stewie and Chris are back to doing whatever it is they usually do. But now, let's just jump to Peter getting a pitching machine. Peter decides to buy a pitching machine, and that alone should tell you we're about to witness something completely ridiculous. Because Peter Griffin with machinery, it never ends well. Not for him at least.
It can turn our car into a silly tank. Watch me nail Cleveland.
I got one too, bitch.
But of course, in classic Peter fashion, he doesn't get the machine for any reasonable purpose, like baseball practice or helping a kids team. Nope, he gets it because he thinks it will help him become more athletic, without actually doing anything.
Wait, why are you pointing the pitching machine at my crotch? Hey!
Come on, Chris. You and me up there at AFV.
It's basically peak Peter logic, but it also has visuals and a very long speech that turns into a movie halfway through.
2 balls, 1 strike, submitted by Peter Griffin of Quahog, Rhode Island. And the winner is Fainting Groom.
He installs his heavy-duty pitching machine right in the backyard, completely unsupervised, without safety gear or warning signs. That's just straight-up chaos waiting to happen. But things turn wild when water starts getting out of the toilet. Chris is in the bathroom, and Peter starts firing baseballs at the toilet, thinking that'll help.
Uh-oh.
Stand back. The pitching machine is the only plumber we'll need.
Suddenly, everything starts to break, and the house is flooded with sewage water. Just imagine that. So, here Peter just stands there as the house fills with filth like it's a normal Tuesday. Next up is an episode that everyone remembers, the time Peter went head-to-head with the FCC. It all starts when Peter decides to start his own TV network named PTV, just to annoy the FCC.
Hi there, I'm Peter Griffin, and you're watching PTV.
He sets it up in his living room and begins airing all the uncensored shows he thinks people should be allowed to watch, like 1950s sitcoms with swear words and softcore puppet shows.
Where you get to watch your favorite shows as nature intended them, with all the sex, violence, swearing, and farts intact.
Lois is against it, but who does Peter listen to? So, when Lois threatens with the FCC, Peter is quick to push it away with a song that publicly trashes the FCC, in their face.
I know all about the FCC. They will clean up all your talking in a manner such as this.
In it, Peter, Stewie, and Brian do their best attempt at forming lyrics, humiliating the FCC.
They're as stuffy as the stuffiest of special interest groups.
Make a joke about your bowels and they order in the troops.
Of course, the FCC shows up at his house and tries to shut everything down, and that's where things go from comparatively normal to flat out ridiculous. Like, you can't even eat breakfast in peace anymore.
You know what I'm talking about. When lubed up toothpaste in my while you and a cherry.
The FCC starts censoring real life, and it couldn't be crazier. For example, eating innocently at breakfast isn't even an option anymore.
No, I can't say in my own house. Great, Lois.
Peter was talking about Eggs Benedict. When Lois gave him his scrambled eggs, he made a joke that made Lois turn on Brian.
Lois, these eggs are scrambled. I thought for sure you'd be making Eggs Benedict Arnold.
Brian, stop writing jokes for Peter.
That's not even the weird part. Lois straight up blames Peter for everything, saying it's his fault for putting those filthy shows on air in the first place. Peter gets defensive, Lois gets judgmental, and it all starts unraveling fast.
And Peter, you brought this on yourself by putting on those filthy shows.
Oh, Lois, you are so full of...
FCC comes with a horn to bleep it all out. It's not a small horn, but a massive, handheld censorship horn that follows Peter everywhere. It bleeps out random phrases, making it seem as if Peter is yelling these random nonsense phrases like lubed up toothpaste of my cherry Episcopalian extension cord, which honestly sounds like he's either casting a spell or having a stroke.
You know what I'm talking about. When lubed up toothpaste in my while you and a cherry.
But then things get worse, much worse. The FCC shows up and they've officially lost their minds. They ban audible farting. Yep, you heard that right.
The FCC has forbidden audible flatulence. Everyone is now required to wear this device that converts all fart sounds into Stephen Wright jokes.
Everyone in town is now required to wear a device that turns farts into Stephen Wright jokes. So instead of a toot, you hear a dry stand-up line like, I spilled spot remover on my dog, now he's gone. What?
I spilled spot remover on my dog, now he's gone.
Oh, this is bogus.
Peter's furious, obviously. The town goes along with it, but he's just looking around like, is this really happening?
What the hell is this?
But things are just starting. Even tearing apart a packet of chips started to get bleeped out, and Lois, not expecting it, ripped apart the entire packet in frustration and dropped it all on the ground.
Come on, you son of a...
In the end, it was Brian who saved the day when Lois turned to him to clear the floor by saying, would you mind? Brian just sighs, yeah, sure.
Brian, would you mind?
Yeah, sure.
Finally, Lois, who had been all, this is for the kids earlier, starts seeing just how insane everything's gotten. She tells Peter that maybe, just maybe, he was right.
Peter, we have to talk. Look, I thought this FCC thing was a good idea at first, but it's just gone way too far.
And that's when Peter absolutely lights up. He's waited 15 years to hear those words and even had a celebration confetti cannon ready to go. The man came prepared.
I don't believe it. Finally, I can do this. I set that thing up 15 years ago.
Lois decides it's time to take action. No more staying quiet. She tells Peter to pack his bags. They're going to Washington, D.C. That's right, they're about to take on the government.
We've got to do something about this. Pack your bag, Peter. We're going to Washington.
The family piles into the car and Chris immediately starts with the classic road trip question. Are we there yet? Lois keeps saying no until she finally gives in and says yes. And Chris calls her a liar. Instant regret.
Are we there yet?
Yes, Chris. Yes, okay? We're there.
Liar!
But the mission is clear. Peter's not going to let the FCC turn the world into a boring, fartless wasteland. Not on his watch. He's going to ruin a conference with the sound they censor. At first, everyone's like, what's going on around here? Then things start to heat up, and everyone is ranting about what is American and what is non-American.
Well, we appreciate your passion, but this Congress supports the FCC. Indecency is un-American.
Oh, yeah?
Peter takes the floor, and he goes off. He tells them the FCC is destroying everything fun about TV.
I'll tell you what's going on. This government's FCC is trying to take all the farts away from television.
And then, in true Peter fashion, he starts comparing national monuments to body parts. The Washington Monument was a giant penis, the Capitol was a boob, the Pentagon was apparently a big old butt. But slowly, they start to realise he's not wrong. Peter's speech somehow convinces Congress that censoring farts and poop jokes is actually un-American. The FCC backs off, taking his totally weird theory as factually true, and Peter wins.
My God, how could we have been so blind?
He's absolutely right.
And somehow, the world is back to normal, which means dumb jokes, nudity, and whatever nonsense Peter wants on TV are totally fine again. But we're clearly missing a crucial moment here. Yep, it's the time Peter literally bought fate, the episode where he won the lottery. It all starts when Peter decides to buy lottery tickets and win money, and Peter, being Peter, takes that as a sign of destiny.
There you go, Lois. That's the answer right there. We'll just win the lottery.
He becomes obsessed with the idea that they're going to win, starts fantasizing, making promises, and acting like a rich man before the numbers are even drawn.
Everyone, I got big news. We are gonna be rich.
He bought thousands of lottery tickets in one go, in the hope that maybe he'll get his name on the winning list. And Lois is not so happy with that. And it's not all about the money. When the winning numbers are announced, everyone in the house sits down and counts all the tickets, making them exhausted and overworked.
Well, that's it. 3 days wasted looking through 200,000 lottery tickets.
Luckily for them, Brian finally found the lucky number. So finally, against all odds, they actually win. It's not just a few bucks, but a full $150 million jackpot.
Yes, we won the lottery! This is awesome. Now that we're rich, our lives are going to be so much better.
Suddenly, Peter Griffin is rich, and right away, he completely loses touch with reality. He quits his job with zero notice. But what's more shocking and absurd is that he also shoots out his friend's eye for no particular reason at all.
Hey, Joe, open your eye. Gotcha!
What the hell, Peter? You shot him in the eye!
That's an ouch. But what happened to Peter in the end was also something he'd never expected, because karma doesn't wait.
I can't believe it. We lost everything.
That was purely a slap in Peter's face. Meanwhile, in another episode, we get one of the weirdest family introductions ever, the time Stewie meets his half-brother Bertram. Their relationship is anything but normal. Stewie first encounters Bertram under odd circumstances. Bertram is a result of what Lois did in college. She sold her eggs for money, so technically, that makes him Stewie's half-brother. But all Brian has to talk about is how those eggs would taste. Like, really? Right away, the two babies are nothing alike. Bertram is bold, confident, and power-hungry, almost like Stewie, but without the weird emotional side or flair for drama. Naturally, this sets up a rivalry that's both hilarious and surprisingly action-packed. In one of their episodes together, Stewie, usually the one who's calling the shots, decides to try and reform Bertram by teaching him how to be more civilized, according to Stewie's standards at least. The funny part is that Bertram doesn't exactly play along. He's smart in his own way, but he doesn't care about Stewie's tricks or big plans. He challenges Stewie constantly, even outsmarts him at times, which completely throws Stewie off. It's silly, but the back and forth makes it feel like a tiny version of a buddy cop movie, except both cops are under 2 feet tall and mildly evil. Despite all the chaos, there's a moment where Stewie admits, very subtly, that he doesn't entirely hate having Bertram around. He even tells him he'll get Bertram adopted and have a family. Of course, things eventually go south. Their alliance, or whatever you'd call it, doesn't last. Bertram gets adopted and Stewie adjusts to everything that's happening. This episode ends with them going their separate ways. Still not so close, but now with a slightly more complicated history. And that wraps up our deep dive into some of the most absurd Family Guy episodes ever.
Holy crap!
Let's be real, absurd doesn't even begin to cover it. We just walk through a world where logic goes on vacation, where a talking dog and a homicidal baby are somehow the most grounded characters.
Good lord, what's happened to us? Okay, maybe things seem a little off, but other than that, the world seems okay.
And where Peter Griffin's ideas somehow keep getting dumber and more brilliant at the same time. If you found yourself laughing, gasping, or even rewinding just to say, did they really just do that? Then you, my friend, are one of us. So hit that like button, subscribe for more breakdowns of Family Guy's most iconic moments, and don't forget to drop your favourite absurd episode in the comments. Let's discuss it, because in the world of Family Guy, the crazier it gets, the more we want to watch.